us today. We're going to get started at, sorry, I just got a notification, exactly at 2 p.m. Central. But for now, Dr. Baldwin asked in the chat where folks are joining from and how the weather is there, so feel free to share. I'm currently in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it felt like fall this morning. And before I knew it, I was on my way to Starbucks to have like a pumpkin spice latte, just taking all the fall I could get in the moment. So I hope everyone else is having great weather where they're joining from.
Yeah. It's finally feeling a little bit like a pumpkin spice day here in Arkansas.
That's awesome. I bet the fall is beautiful there.
It can still be hot. So fall is better than summer for sure, but it can still be hot.
I understand that all too well, being in North Carolina. But yeah, as folks continue to share where they're joining from, and I see someone's from Napa Valley, I am very, very jealous. But we're going to go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay Josephs, and I work as a demand generation specialist here at OpenStax. And today we're joined by the wonderful Dr. Amy Baldwin, who will be discussing promoting relationship building and social skills development in your college success course. To get started, we're going to go over today's agenda. We're going to begin by introducing Dr. Baldwin, diving into an overview of OpenStax, and then an overview of the College Success textbook series. After that, Dr. Baldwin will discuss strategies for helping students with the social adjustment to college and then answer audience questions. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to share them in the chat or the Q&A, and we'll make sure to get to them. Dr. Baldwin is the senior contributing author of all three of OpenStax's college success textbooks for both college and K-12 courses. Dr. Baldwin served as an award-winning community college professor for 18 years. After that, she served as the director of the Department of Student Transitions at the University of Central Arkansas. After serving in that role for 7 years, she now serves as a senior lecturer of literacy and academic success at the University of Central Arkansas, teaching student success courses similar to the ones that the folks in this webinar are teaching. So thank you so much, Dr. Baldwin, for joining us today. We are so excited to have you on yet another fantastic webinar.
Thank you. I'll get, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to steal your thunder. Thank you so much.
Oh, no, no problem at all. Before diving into the college success textbooks, we're just going to dive into what OpenStax is and what we offer. Most of the folks in this call are probably already familiar with OpenStax, but if you're new to OpenStax or don't know about everything that we offer, we're going to tell you everything that you need to know. First, OpenStax is an educational initiative based out of Rice University in Houston, Texas. We're able to sustain our operations and our mission through philanthropic support, as we are part of a greater nonprofit institution. We receive philanthropic support in the forms of grants from foundations, individual donations, governmental grants, and technology fees from our technology partners. We are a mission-oriented organization, and our mission is to improve educational access and learning for everyone. The main way that we do this is through publishing a library of over 60 free online, peer-reviewed, openly licensed textbooks for both college and K-12 courses. Since publishing our first textbook in 2012, we have saved students over $2 billion in textbook costs, which wouldn't have been possible without the efforts of authors like Dr. Baldwin and the efforts of instructors like yourselves. So thank you. I just said that OpenStax publishes openly licensed textbooks, but what exactly does that mean? We have a wonderful definition up here on the screen from the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation, which is a super strong supporter of OpenStax and OER. In essence, OpenStax textbooks are an example of open educational resources. OER are any educational materials that are free to use, available publicly, and lack traditional copyright restrictions, so instructors can edit, revise, and rearrange the content to meet their course needs. Overall, OpenStax textbooks look a lot like other textbooks that are out there on the market. They're peer reviewed, they're written by expert authors and subject matter experts, and they go through an extensive editorial process. All OpenStax textbooks are aligned to typical course topics and outcomes and are written by experienced and expert faculty like Dr. Baldwin. All of our textbooks are reviewed and revised by a variety of editors and reviewers to ensure that the content is up to date, clear to understand, and representative of diverse student audiences. We publish our textbooks in a variety of formats and platforms. All of our textbooks, including all 3 college success books, are available for free on our website in downloadable PDF and WebView formats. We also know that some students and instructors prefer print, so we sell our textbooks through Amazon as well as campus bookstores at a very low cost. Lastly, all of our textbooks receive regular errata and currency updates. Instructors can submit edits they would like to see in our textbooks on our website for subject matter experts to review, and we frequently make those updates to the online versions of our books. OpenStax offers much more than just textbooks. Each OpenStax textbook comes with its own unique suite of free instructor and student resources, like lecture slides, solution manuals, and LMS course cartridges. The College Success books come with an incredible instructor resource manual that I'm sure Dr. Baldwin will touch upon soon, but this instructor's manual is absolutely fabulous. College Success has one of the best ones. Highly recommend taking a look at it after the webinar. In addition to offering these free resources, we also offer free webinars like this one, as well as helpful articles on the OpenStax blog about topics like tips and tricks for using your OpenStax textbook and general educational thought leadership topics. Our support center is an excellent resource to turn to if you have any questions or need any assistance. Lastly, OpenStax partners with over 100 education technology partners to offer learning technology like online homework, labs, and more alongside our OpenStax textbooks. For some of our textbooks, OpenStax even offers our own learning technology platform. This is currently available solely for our life sciences textbooks. We hope to expand this soon. Now I will pass it off to Dr. Baldwin to discuss our college success textbooks.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. Thank y'all for joining us. And just, those of you who haven't watched the other OpenStax webinars, I'm just going to briefly kind of give you some context on how we're kind of getting into the social relationships and things like that to help students with social transition. But in March 2020, we came out with the first version of it. It's the 12-chapter longer edition. And I always say our timing was impeccable. Came in right on the heels of COVID. And so it might have fallen below your radar because you had many other important things to be focused on than this, textbook coming out. But fortunately, a lot of people did find it, they adopted it, or they started using pieces of it. And then we approached OpenStax about perhaps doing a concise version. It is only 8 chapters. I'm going to show you a side-by-side comparison, as well as a high school version. And that is really for those concurrent courses that you might be offering. Maybe you're at an institution and you offer it on high school campuses, or students come to you, or you're a special program like an AVID program, or a Boys and Girls Club, I think, offers some college readiness stuff. So again, 3 different versions that can give you hopefully a variety of ways that you can approach your class. This is a table of contents from the first version. If you've been in student success for any amount of time, you're going to recognize a lot of the topics. and they're very, very important to the work that we do helping students transition. And again, as Lindsay said, one of the beauties about OpenStax is you can customize things, take things out, add things, and it's no big issue at all. But these are typically the things that you're going to see in a 3-credit-hour student success course, if you have one. The college concise version, it goes from 12 chapters to 8. You're going to see a lot of the same material. And I'm going to talk specifically about a chapter that is new to the concise version. We took portions from the college success book, the 12 chapter one, and I'm going to talk to you about how we expanded it and why. And certainly I'd love to hear your take on how students are adjusting or not socially on your campus. And then you're going to see that it mirrors pretty much exactly the high school version, Preparing for College Success, with the exception of the numbering of the chapters, because we have a different number 1, which is getting into college, so the process of that. So if you are a user of the original version, the concise version marries 2 chapters together, pulls some things apart, moves some stuff around, and then there's some new content. And primarily that's what we're going to talk about today. So my question that's kind of guiding our conversation over the next 20 minutes or so is, what can you do to help students build relationships in college? But first, I kind of want to ask you, if you don't mind jotting in chat, what are some of the relationship issues or social adjustment issues you are seeing on your campus with your students this semester? So I'd love for you to just drop that into chat. What are some of the social adjustment issues or relationship issues you are seeing on your campus? And while you're doing that, I will just do a shout out to, it is week 3 on our campus, and I have named that boyfriend-girlfriend breakup week. So I will tell students this, I told them at the beginning of this week, this is usually the week for boyfriend-girlfriend breakups. Very common that students come with a significant other, maybe they're still at home or they've gone to another institution. They come to campus, it takes about 3 weeks, they realize there are other fish in the sea, sometimes cuter fish in the sea, and they are end up shaking things up. So just looking at some of the comments, Barbara says the anxiety level has increased, definitely. Fearful to speak up, open up, absolutely. Sherry says she's seen a little bit of withdrawal from students, and yeah, that shyness I think has been pretty consistent over the last 3 years, just kind of quiet, like they haven't been used to face-to-face people in a while. So, and Connie says some of them are some of them are talkative with some exceptions, and introverts, yes. A lot of quiet, a little homesickness. Rhonda says homesickness, that's pretty typical. And Sherry, thank you for confirming that week 3 is a girlfriend boyfriend breakup week on some campuses, so I appreciate that. So I'm curious, and I do want to, you spent a little time talking about, Kayla says that it's her 3rd semester and noticing positive behavioral changes. I agree with that. I'm seeing a lot more, they seem happier. I don't know if this is just me, but certainly for the most part coming to class, at least initially, with a little bit more enthusiasm than usual. But as you probably know, that students are, first-year students are just always in that kind of space of being a little bit more reserved. It's a new environment. It's, as my kids used to say, that's so awkward, Mom, making us talk, or, talking in front of other people is completely awkward. And so you're still seeing some of that kind of developmental change, or those developmental milestones. And so that's pretty typical, but I do agree you're going to see pockets of very, very seem enthusiastic, ready to be social, and then still have that withdrawn and reserved. And we know there's a variety of reasons for that. A lot of it has to do with social media, our phone addiction. If they're not being social and engaged in class, you're probably seeing that they are texting under the desk or trying to stay connected in other ways. And so, yeah, there's a lot going on there, and some of it we can help them kind of redirect. Some of it may take some time. So I want to talk a little bit before we get into the social adjustment and building relationships, which is what we're focused on today, to just kind of give a shout out over chapter 1 of the both the concise and the original version. We present to them Lori Hazard and Stephanie Carter's 6 adjustments for first year college students. And so as you can see, this information is presented. We often talk about it in the first week of class. You're going to go through some adjustments. There are resources around those adjustments. But the social piece has always been something that's really been important to our students, because even if they are coming from a mile away, their social relationships are changing. They're not with all of the people that they grew up with necessarily. Their family, are not seen every day. And that is one of those, if you've got traditional students on your campus, the not seeing the family every day is very, very disruptive to their kind of rhythms. If you have more non-traditional students, and I did work at a community college for 18 years, I saw a lot of students whose issues were related to they're the only one in their peer group who's going to college, and or taking time away from their family is part of that social adjustment as well. So just reminding you and the students that this is normal. There are ways to get through it, and this course and this book and this chapter 5 in particular, can help. Here's some other things that you might be seeing. Again, this is more geared towards traditional college campuses, and Rhonda said homesickness, was one of those things. I've even mapped it out in terms of the different months. August, if you start in August, maybe you start early September, but those first few weeks are always very busy, very a little jolting sometimes if students aren't used to all of the rigmarole that goes on at the beginning of a semester. And that's where they can be both excited but also homesick. Very, very normal. And by the way, I've just circled some of the social pieces of this. Obviously, there are other things going on. By October, I always tell students that's where roommate issues can arise. And again, if you are working with non-traditional populations, it could be also tension in the family, tension in other relationships, especially if that person is spending a lot of time and very excited about college and they're studying and doing those kinds of things. I would always have students at the community college who would report to me that their significant other would be a little jealous of all the time that they're spending studying or being in the library. And so I just like to be mindful of October as a conflict month. Conflict can happen. And then, of course, at the end of the semester, November and December, the family may be a little more prominent in terms of influencing the social adjustment, in part because holidays are going to be celebrated. There are going to be decisions made about what you're doing and when and with whom. And for a lot of traditional students, going back during the holiday break is very jarring to them because they're used to kind of coming and going as they please, and realizing that they may not be able to do that or do that as well. So those are just kind of some foundational things that I like to kind of share with students to talk about what it is that we need to build on. Another piece of this too is the idea of networks. Now this is from chapter 1. This is a figure from chapter 1. We also repeat it in chapter 5, but try to help students kind of view their college experience as really building a network. They may be used to having family in their corner, friends connected. Maybe if they're coming straight from high school, they're used to teachers being authority figures or coaches being authority figures. They may have been working too, so they have a different dynamic in that way. What we try to get across to them, and what I think is an integral part of the social adjustment, is to help them with the other pieces that are often really we kind of feel like our mentor programs and our peer networking programs are really kind of a signature part of the college experience. And sometimes they don't realize, especially early on, that when we encourage them to participate in organizations or get involved with research with a professor, that's all helping them expand their network. And so really it's about taking some time to talk about those peer networks, those mentors and colleagues, and how faculty can fit into that as key pieces of their social adjustment. So let me pause right here and kind of talk about some of the challenges. So I kind of laid the foundation a little bit in terms of what we're going to build on, or what we can talk about with students to build on. But some of you already pointed to some of these concerns and or the challenges in particular. And I just kind of wanted to share these as general ideas and then talk about some of the opportunities. We've already talked about those new social circles. Definitely can be a huge adjustment if someone's shy, if they're, just has a small circle of friends. It can be very disruptive for them to be in college. The family dynamics, no matter how supportive their family is going to be, is going to change. And they're not being there all the time. Even if they live at home, just that being pulled away to college and being here for extended periods of time can affect that. Homesickness, like Rhonda said, definitely can be a part of that traditional experience. Intimate relationship issues. So I tease about the boyfriend-girlfriend breakup week. I also follow that up with, and we have relationship counselors on campus, and I'm going to encourage you to go see them should you need some support. So 18 years old for the most part and up, adults, they're going to have issues related to intimate relationships. Those new living arrangements going to cause them a little stress. And then we've kind of danced around this. I haven't looked at the chat to see if anybody called it out in particular, but that over-reliance on social media and technology is a change that I have seen. It's been an issue for a while. It seems to have gotten worse in terms of interrupting and disrupting the social experience, but also the classroom environment. Had to get on to somebody twice today for that. So, asking him, okay, why are we still on our phone when I've asked you nicely to get off? So with those challenges, I think there are a lot of opportunities. And I think this course in particular, if you teach the student success course, or maybe you work with students who are transitioning from either high school or maybe the world of work into college, but I think there's some opportunities. And I believe that our book addresses some of these or gives you opportunities to developing small talk. And I'm just curious if anybody wants to say yes or no. Do you find that students have small talk skills or not? I would imagine you're gonna tell me that you're not seeing a lot of small talk skills. Students self-report to that. Living more independently, a big issue for a lot of our students who are used to other people taking care of things for them. Having to do it all themselves or almost all themselves, it can be quite shocking. Another opportunity is helping them recognize that these transitions, the homesickness in particular, are temporary and that they will get through it. And then again, offering some skill building and resources around that. And I think just helping them move outside their comfort zone. A lot of them are aware that they are introverted, shy. They don't take a lot of risks. And so whenever you ask them to do things in class, pair up, do a presentation, it can be a little frightening for them, but also I think a lot of them realize that they need to be doing those kinds of things. And definitely building networks we just talked about. But one of the most important things I think we can do for students to really empower them is to help them with those conflict resolution skills. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute and how the book can help on that. So I'm just curious if anybody said, yes, Sherry and Barbara said their small talk skills not great. So great opportunity to help build those with them. So let's look at the chapter and kind of how it's organized and how it can address some of those issues and how you can capitalize on those opportunities. There are 3 sections related to the chapter. There is the benefits of healthy relationships, and that is just basically an overview of what relationships do for us. I thought it was important to kind of remind us that it is important for us to have relationships. Don't have to have, 800 friends, but definitely we need to be cognizant of developing strong, clear, healthy relationships. Then there's the building relationships in college. So specifically addressing who, what, when, where, how do you need to be doing this? And then ever the evergreen issue of working in groups, which all of my students say initially that they hate to do. And I think I have some reasons or ideas why that is. And hopefully, if you find that happening with your students, this content in this chapter could be particularly helpful, hopefully, to remedying that. But one of the reasons why I included the building relationships in college is because they often will focus more on friends versus classmates, friends versus professors, and I just need them to see, hey, we got a whole team of people who are here that can really enrich your experience. So I'm going to show you some screenshots from the book and kind of show you how they could be used to kind of get at some of the challenges or the opportunities that you have with students with building relationships. This one is specifically focused around sense of belonging. Now, I have gotten a question before, do you address belonging in this book? And I'm going to tell you, with the exception of this activity, not called out in a specific way. And one of the reasons for that, and it's Lisa Nunn, whose work I'm quoting and referencing here. She is, in her book, How First Year and First Generation College Students Navigate Campus Life, she makes the argument, and I think it's a sound argument, that it's really the institution's place to help students feel like they belong versus the student. It's all on the student. Now, with that said, this activity is related to what can the student do to enhance it. And certainly they're going to have some limitations there. But what I like about Lisa Nunn's work is that she organizes belonging in three categories: that academic belonging, social belonging, and campus community belonging. And what I like particularly about those three and addressing this with students in particular is you may have students who fit in really well academically in the classroom. They are on fire, they're great. When they walk out of the classroom is when they struggle. And then you may have students who feel very much like they have found a community on campus. It's a good fit, but when they go into the classroom, they don't recognize themselves. They feel very isolated and ignored. And we've done a little bit of research on our campus. I was part of a initiative where we were studying Black men on campus. And one of the results from that study was our Black males on our campus felt very socially like they belonged. They saw organizations that represented them. They had a great group of friends and mentors. Even when they got into the classroom, it was when they did not feel like they belonged. And so that to us was very important to know the distinctions between those two so that we could address it, which we are, but also to help students navigate it as well. So a little bit of a soapbox there, but I do think that that can be a really insightful and important discussion point for your students. So those of you who said that you were yes, reporting that students are not that great with small talk, I'll be honest with you, I had to learn the hard way. I'm sure at 18 I was terrible as well, but there's a whole section about how to just talk to other people. And you can see from this example that I even go in and give them scripts. Anytime that you can help students practice these skills, I have some little dice. I don't know if dice is 2, but I've got 6 of them. They're little dice and they roll them and they can answer the question that pops up. It was just kind of a little strategy to help them learn how to ask questions and answer them. But anytime you can get them to do that or script it out for them or help them with this process, I think can help empower them and make them feel more comfortable and less awkward, as that first photo that I showed conveys. So small talk, really important. infusing that in any kind of way. You do a lot of activities around that, or just share those scripts with them could be really helpful. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is developing relationships with professors. And I have a little bit of a personal, I don't know, thought around this, in part because I have had two kids, young people, go through college. One is almost graduated, one has graduated. And the way they approached professors was very different. And one of them has not cultivated a relationship with a professor at all. And I'm very disappointed, not in the kid, but just that there wasn't an opportunity to do that, and that he didn't listen to his mother when she told him to do this kind of stuff. But I try to get across to students that they need to be looking at their professors, not just as authority figures. Some of them, will present themselves as that, and certainly will be, there'll be a power dynamic there. But really, how do you go about cultivating a relationship in which there's some mutual respect, and you can go back to them for advice, for help, for letters of reference? And so I try to make it very explicit in this section about what are the benefits of having a good relationship with your professor. Not only will you enjoy the class more, but you might find that you will be able to call on that professor for any kind of help later on. I try to make that really clear to my students. Hey, I'm your professor for life. Uri Treisman at University of Texas, I kind of took that from his, what he says to his students is, I'm your professor for life. You can come to me for anything related to anything. And then, I am somebody that can be part of your network. I don't know if all faculty do that, but I certainly hope students will see how easy that is and then work to do that on their own. So giving them some options and ideas for how to do that is part of this section as well. So I'm going to pause there for just a second because I need to take a little bit of a slow down break. But just curious, what are your thoughts, or what are your strategies? What have you done to help students with the professor relationship? And it looks like Sherry has shared with us, that employers are looking for these things, and they are, for sure. So if you want to share anything in particular you've done, I bet you've got some good ideas for how to help students strengthen relationships. Pop that into chat, and we'll look at that in a second. So moving on. One of the things that I feel is another piece of the professor section that's really important is helping students with crafting verbal and written communication. It could be as simple as trying to ask a question, or it could be something that is a conflict. And I'm a big believer in script writing, helping students write a script. I helped my kids write a script whenever they had to have an awkward conversation with somebody or a difficult conversation. And I think it's a really fantastic opportunity to help students kind of decide what they want to say and then help them practice saying it. This is a particular activity embedded in Chapter 5, and it's an email exchange, about a grade. And so students can look at that, talk about it, rewrite it if they want to. So I want to just share in chat some of the things that y'all are saying, which is fantastic. Barbara says she learns names, get to know them personally. That's fantastic. And I hope they also get to know you personally, because that's a great way to get connected. Matthew says it's a little tricky. Sometimes professors aren't as supportive. And that's a great opportunity to talk about, what do you do when you have a professor who is not very supportive at all? We've all had them in our lives. We all have strategies how to work around them, and or work with them or around them. And that's a great opportunity if you want to do a case scenario. Probably don't name names and protect the innocent with changing some of the details. But what a great activity you could do. Kayla says she's done mandatory office hours, which I do as well. I do that twice a semester. It's kind of hard to do all of that, but I think those kinds of things. I'm sorry, I'm laughing at the Susan's how to email your professor without being annoying AF. I love that. That probably speaks to them so much better. Um, but yes, the difference between personal and private. I like that. Talking about what to share and what not to share. Every now and then you get an oversharer professor or oversharer student. So sounds like you've got a lot of things embedded already that can really help them. I love the one-on-one conferences because they can practice small talk. You can also bring up difficult, issues, challenges you might have, and help them with those kinds of things. I also ask them, how are your other classes going? Is there anything I can help you with? And then I've done a lot of scripting through that. Like, this is how you need to email the professor. All right, another piece of this chapter that I think is also important is addressing family matters. We talked a little bit about family dynamics changing. And again, I think it's regardless of how old they are, if they're non-traditional, they're returning adults versus 18-year-olds, it's going to have an impact on the family. And that dynamic may be dynamic throughout their college career. I have some students who their family and friends were very supportive initially, and then pulled support both financially and emotionally later. I have had family who is not supportive of at all and have tried to sabotage students. And so being mindful of those kinds of different things at play and helping students navigate the conversations that they might need to have or the resources they might need to go to get through some of this stuff is really important. I would love to believe all family and friends are 100% supportive of all students, but we know that's not true. And I do think calling it out, talking about it, being realistic is really important to them, to help them with that. I don't get into squabbles with parents, but I'll just say, hey, maybe what's going on is your mother is concerned about this, because that's what I would be concerned about. What about a conversation around this? So just coaching them is what I've found has been helpful. So save last last for best, or best for last, or whatever the phrase is. I initially conceived of this chapter of just about group work and collaboration because my students have hated doing it. We require a group project. They do a lot of activities together in class, informally. And I just felt like they needed a lot of support around that. And so part of their concern about it is, and their bad experiences, I think had to do with lack of structure and lack of tools to get through it and get through it well. That's my take from the conversations I've had. So we do talk about in this chapter kind of the process of group work. There's also roles, different types of roles that they might choose to assign. And then there's a section on group contracts. What are you going to agree to do? And what's going to happen if somebody violates the contract? And I'll tell you right now, they are good at writing down, we're going to kick the student out of the group. And they're not so good with following through. I tell them don't do that, but they're not good with following through with the consequence. So we spend quite a bit of time talking about what are potential problems, how is your group wanting to address it, and respectfully and inclusively, but also at what point are you going to communicate to them what you need and how. And so a lot of role playing opportunities here, a lot of different scenarios that can be really helpful to them. And really what it's about is helping them anticipate the challenges, giving them some tools to navigate those challenges, and learn how to effectively communicate at all times. I try to tell them, let's make me the last resort. I'm not going to fix it, but I will guide you as to what you need to do. So I've been surprised because I always ask them to reflect on their group experience, what worked, what didn't, what did you learn about yourself, what strengths did you bring, what did you mess up? And they are, and did you like it? They have often said they were surprised that they liked it. It actually worked out better than they thought. So not every group does. Some of them just implode, but that's always a great learning experience as well for them. But I do think that that section right there is super important, and help them, get what they need to be able to address issues, because they're going to be doing group projects. I tell them my whole job is a group project. Sometimes I never see the people in person whenever I'm working over Zoom or something like that. So that is kind of the key pieces of the chapter. Focus on social adjustment and building relationships, and would love to see what kind of questions you have now, or what works for you that you are doing that seems helpful to students with that transition. I'll share a couple of things that are being added in the chat. Letitia says she shares testimonies and the challenges I had to empathize with them. I do as well. I tell them about my really bad group work experience and how I acted like a complete fool, and my professor wasn't gonna play at all. So I tell them, I'm gonna tell you this, and this is what not to do, and I did this. So I think that's great. Sherry asked about summer bridge programs. I think summer bridge, we have offered summer bridge programs in the past. We have recently refigured that a little bit because we have a grant. But I think summer bridge programs can be a fantastic opportunity for students to get acclimated to the environment, and it's a great place to help them with the social adjustment, because you're probably going to have fewer students, and you're probably going to organize them in groups. If you had like 100 students, you might be putting them in groups of 20, 25. But they can be incredibly helpful for students. Certainly can help us identify issues that they might need before they arise. And Sherry, yeah, you said in terms of social adjustment, I think they're fantastic for that opportunity, because they're less overwhelming and you can kind of organize some stuff. Anyone else have thoughts on social adjustment, the changes, what challenges you're seeing? I've used appointment clocks, Barbara says, to create small groups that are not made up of their friends. I'm glad you said that. I just had a conversation with my faculty that teach this course about our group project that's coming up, and someone asked, how are we arranging groups? Do we let them choose themselves? And I just think we need to organize the groups ourselves, at least initially. And I think there's a lot of benefit to that, and looking for diversity, looking for students who seem a little bit more organized, pairing those with a student that's not as organized, so that you don't have one group of procrastinators or one group of A-type personality. So I think that's really important. Barbara says she's also asked them what causes anxiety, what's causing them anxiety, and discuss. Great opportunity, I think, for kind of crowdsourcing some of those issues. And Barbara, I'm just curious if you don't mind putting in chat, do you ask them anonymously, or you let them just, share as they want to? While she's thinking on that one, David said, do you use this text in a standalone module or as a theme throughout the modules? My preference is the latter, but then coordinated across modules. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to understand what standalone module is, or for in this case, David, but I use this text in our 3-credit hour course, and the chapter 5, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, it's its own week, and we work through that chapter. But OpenStax, if you just wanted to pull the chapter just because you have some other content you want to do, you certainly can. Barbara says yes, she does it anonymously. Agnelia, she says students are shy to answer questions during course. I started using online discussion in class assignments, have them fill out in class and read out loud. Yes. Or getting them to think, pair, share, and then have someone else report out each other's is sometimes another great strategy. Okay, either or questions. Sherry, you said, you said a checking out during class? If you want to share a couple of those either or questions, I'm assuming it's like mashed potatoes or macaroni and cheese. See which one they like. I don't see any other questions that were coming in the Q&A. You can just pop them into the chat if you want to. But I did want to, nobody has asked this question. So if you don't mind, Lindsay, I'm going to throw this out. What are your thoughts around addictive technology use in the classroom related to kind of, if they're supposed to be working together on something and someone is distracted by their phone or their computer, and what you think could be a way to help them with that social adjustment by perhaps maybe coaching them on how to use their technology for good and not evil. And as you're thinking about that in terms of your experiences, I will just share, we're still trying to battle this. And I say battle, but probably that's not the best term for it. But we have a lot of students who are choosing to be on their phones, chatting, texting, Snapchat, social media, TikTok, whatever, versus being engaged in the class. And I am inclined to think it's a social adjustment issue. And in part, I think it is their wanting to be socially connected, but not wanting to, the discomfort and the awkwardness of being face-to-face. And so I'm still trying to figure out how best to approach it so that I don't sound like a nag. Because I want to recognize that that is part, that even if it's not working well for them, it is part of their social adjustment. They do not want to be disconnected socially from that. So let me see if what anybody said. Letitia said that she is utilizing sport coaching skills by timing them to meet a classmate in 2 minutes in practice. Oh, good. It sounds like you start class with that. I think that. Rhonda says, West Virginia University recently implemented Clifton Strengths as part of, I guess, new student orientation. And I think that's a great way to help them build relationships. I'm a this, and I can, contribute that to other people as well. Good, thank you. Lindsay, anything else in terms of questions that you think might be at top of mind, especially related to using OpenStax or using any of the content?
I haven't seen any additional questions in the chat, and I don't have anything that comes top of mind. I've shared the link to all 3 textbooks in the chat so folks can take a look at the books, their instructor resources, all of that fun stuff. But other than that, I think if no one else has any questions, we can go ahead and give folks a few minutes back in their day and end the webinar early. Thank you so much, Dr. Baldwin, for such an engaging webinar, for all of this incredibly helpful information. And thank you to everyone for hopping on today. We really appreciate your time and engagement in the chat. I haven't been to a webinar this engaged in a hot minute. So I loved all of the responses.
Yeah, thank you so much. And let me put in chat, always if you need something, email me, amybaldwin@uca.edu or abaldwin@uca.edu. And I have to giggle because Lindsay knows how happy I am about my instructor's resource manual that I don't think anybody's ever read cover to cover. But thanks for the shout out to talk about it. Lots of ideas, lots of resources in there. And if you are interested in that particular chapter, you use a different book, you're interested in that chapter, you'll need to go to the concise version of the Instructor's Resource Manual to get more ideas there. But thank you. Good luck. Keep doing the things that I know you're doing well to help students adjust socially. I'm excited about this year. I think the students seem much more engaged than I've seen in a while, and I just want to be able to harness that for good and help them develop those skills that I know are going to be really helpful for them the rest of their lives. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Baldwin. And once again, thank you all so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. If you have any questions, please feel free to email Dr. Baldwin, or if you have OpenStax specific questions, you can also email us as well at info@openstax.org. But on that note, I think we can go ahead and end the webinar. Thank you all again. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye.